back, week 2, episode 2. Exciting times. So we've had a lot more news than actual sport this time, which it's going to be like that. even for me, the amount of stuff I do like to watch. There are some weeks there's not as much on than others, so we have to find other bits to talk about. This week, luckily, I think straight after I filmed last week, they had AJ and Fury booked, which is good. Like, luckily there's 2 of them, so we get to see 2 fights this year. There was a point this year where we were thinking everything was coming out of Fury's camp, everything all the promoters were talking about, it sounded like it was not going to get done, or Fury's going to fight just these randomers that no one cares about. But they got it done out of nowhere. They're like, right, cool, two fights booked for all the belts. I don't know if that's going to make things more difficult, because it sounds like all the different, so there's 4 different belts obviously, that all the different belts, it sounds like each different organisation is going to want the champion to fight their guy, and if you can't fight his guy, then he's going to have to lose the belt. So I don't know how that's going to work, or maybe just make it all one belt, who knows. But yes, there's going to be 2 massive fights coming this year. It sounds to me that Fury's not exactly bang on it at the minute. He doesn't seem to be in shape. He's not saying the right things. Whereas you've got Joshua, who's Mr. in shape. He's always in shape. He's always ready. Fury's a better boxer. He's a much better boxer. And just the style, if Fury's on form and he's in shape, it's gonna be a Fury win, I think. At least the first time. So obviously we know that Joshua can adapt for a rematch, but it's looking like if Fury comes in shape, it's gonna be TKO or knockout, or at worst a decision, a comfortable decision, if Joshua can go that long. But we'll see. We'll see what kind of shape they're in. We'll see what kind of, because it's a different kind of fight. I mean, going over, Fury's used to fighting. His biggest fight so far was Wilder. You go fight in America, and I think fighting Joshua in England, it probably won't be in England, it's probably going to Saudi Arabia again, or somewhere fancy, or whoever pays the most money for it. So I think that's going to be well worth waiting for, because we've waited long enough, and it's going to be, we're going to get 2 outstanding fights, and fights that I think we just needed to see. Like, we needed to see Joshua fight, we needed to see Fury fight, Joshua. Joshua's obviously been defending his belt for years, so I think we need to see both of these guys. And as much as I want Joshua to win personally, I really think Fury's going to get this one done. I really do. Yeah, I would expect him to get done, unless he comes in, off the sofa after some beers. It's got to be a Fury win for sure. Staying on combat. It seems like all the combat stuff happened last week. Khabib Nurmagomedov, UFC welterweight champion, retired finally. He's been dragging this one on for months now and holding up probably the best division in the UFC, the hottest division. There's like the top 10 are all savages. So he's kind of like hanging onto the belt, saying, is he not going to retire? Is he going to retire? Because he said he was going to retire after the last fight, defend his belt again, 29-0. Just smashing through everybody, and because his dad passed away. I think weeks before the last fight he had scheduled, and him and his dad were super close. Bit again, just like Justin Thomas, and he was really affected by that, because his whole career he's been growing up with him in his corner, and his last fight was his first fight without him there. So after the fight, he said he retired, but Dana White, the promoter, being a good promoter, I suppose, kind of kept him sort of interested, saying, "Are you going to come back? Is there anything you want to do?" And then eventually, now he's finally said, "No, I'm staying retired." So that's good news. It was good news for the division, specifically one Conor McGregor, who, most MMA fans know that he's not going to beat Khabib. Obviously, as you know, hopefully you would have seen that crazy fight they had and all the aftermath of that stuff. I don't think Khabib would have gone through that again. And I don't think Conor's in that space. So I think him retiring is the best thing for everyone else in the division, and certainly Conor McGregor, who I don't think would have had a chance to win another belt if he was still there. So they've rebooked the title fight for two other guys. They've got Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler, who's just come over from another organisation. He was the champion in that one, so he's come over to fight who most people consider to be the best, second best in that division now, Charles Oliveira. So that should be a good fight. Meanwhile, Conor's probably going to fight Dustin Poirier for a third time. So that little series is one each. So hopefully we just get all the fights we want, because that division, I talk to a lot of my friends all the time, like we're always hoping they just book the right fights, because the problem with combat sports is a lot of money's involved, promoters are involved, and people don't get to see the fights that just should happen. It's not like football. You play the same teams twice a year. You have to play them all. So Man United will play Man City twice in the Premier League, as opposed to if everyone could pick their matches, you might not get those. They'd play against someone else, or they'd pick someone else to play in another country. But now, hopefully in the UFC, they are starting to make the right matchup. So Khabib out the way moves everyone else in a good position, especially Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is probably the biggest winner out of all this, because there's no way he was going to win. Other people, they've got a chance against Khabib, something of a chance. I think Conor. So it's only the way he is after coming off a bad defeat in January against Poirier. I just don't think, I think that would have gone well for him. But that's out the way now. Looking forward to hopefully announcing another Conor McGregor fight, and then maybe a title fight in the future. The only sport, the biggest bit of sport for the weekend, the most important, was certainly Six Nations, which was, I was watching the game, the France-Wales game. That was for everything. So Wales had won all their games. For those who don't know, Wales has won all their games so far, and they're going for what's called the Grand Slam, which means you've beaten everybody, and obviously win the title as well. They were winning by 10 points. I think it's 10 points, with 10 minutes to go. France had a man sent off. So in theory, it's like, cool, you should just walk this one in. And then, so they ended up losing that in added time, so the time had expired. And now France have a chance to win the whole thing. So Wales had gone from, we're probably going to win this thing, and we're going to get the distinction of having beaten everybody, to France can now win this whole tournament, because their game, so they've got their final game next week, because it got postponed for COVID. So if they beat Scotland by a wide enough margin and they score enough tries, France are going to go take the title of Wales. So that's going to be fascinating to see if they can do it, because they're going to play Scotland, who I guess, who knows? Scotland might not be too motivated to stop France from taking it off Wales, but who knows? I guess sporting pride. You'd hope sporting pride would come into it, and you wouldn't just roll over and let another team win, even if it is Scotland and Wales. But luckily, I say luckily, so for me personally, being English, or being British and Irish, I go into every tournament, I'm like, cool, I've got two teams that can win. The first one to go out, cool, support the other one. England, terrible. For some, I'm not even sure why. Like they're very hot and cold. One year they're great. Next year they beat New Zealand. Then the following year they can't even win 2 games out of 5. So Ireland won. So at the weekend I was happy. Ireland beat England. So I won and I lost. So that's the kind of the benefit of dual nationality, if you like. You get to have 2 different teams that are good. They're both good, and obviously having such a strong allegiance to both, you can kind of almost flip between the 2 teams and kind of enjoy way more games, rather than England going out. It's like, okay, cool, it's over now. But I've got Ireland as well. Ireland is a bit better, but still nowhere near. France and Wales have been the best 2 teams for sure. So Friday, we're going to see it. We're going to see what happens. Not sure if there's any football on the weekend. Nothing really springs to mind, to be honest. There's a few Premier League games on. FA Cup, yeah, there was the FA Cup. Yeah, I quickly summarised that. So yeah, Leicester beat Man United, but yeah, no worries. So yeah, the semi-final is coming up. So we've got Leicester and Southampton. Let's go. And the all-conquering Man City are playing Chelsea. All power to them. Man United, obviously, it's too many games. It's too tired, is what it was. So yeah, Leicester beat Man United, obviously. Terrible game. Well, yeah, not terrible, but just too many football matches. So Man United played on Thursday. I can hear you now. Stop it. Played on Thursday in Milan. Great performance. 3 days later, you got to play Leicester, who are very good. I mean, they deserve to win for sure. You know, Man United just didn't. When Man U rest their best players, they're not good enough to win games. A lot of teams. One team is good enough to do that in the league, Man City. So I think we need to learn not to do that in big games, because we just can't. We can't rest our players, and we can't rest our best players, or our best player, and still try and beat a good team, because it just doesn't really work like that. And our team we're still like learning, so it is what it is. You can't win them all. There's a couple of important games left. We're still in Europe. Let's try. We'll do our best. But other than that, quite a quick wrap up of everything that happened last week, or this past 7 days. Highly recommend watching the Drive to Survive Formula One Netflix documentary. 10 episodes, but it's the best one of all the 3 seasons so far. It's the best one. A lot of drama, it's good for the casual fan as well. It's not just, it's almost nothing. It's almost nothing like watching it on TV on the Sky Sports. It's very much behind the scenes stuff. Like, it's more like understanding how everything works. You know, the teams and the dynamics, and at times it's like Desperate Housewives in Formula One. Like, it's not very. You'd be surprised, I guess, because you don't really see too much in the coverage. There's a lot of stuff you don't see on the coverage, like all the behind the scenes stuff, all the conversations between the guys, and obviously they make it more dramatic than it. Well, they make it seem as dramatic as it was watching it, but then you've got the extra behind the scenes stuff and all the people talking. But yeah, highly recommend watching Drive to Survive on Netflix. You can go back and watch the other ones. But yeah, you get a bit more sort of like behind the scenes stuff. You get to hear a bit more about the individual drivers and what they're like, because I guess behind the wheel you just see, there's no real emotion there until you get out of the car. And if they've won, obviously you see a lot of emotion, but other than that you don't really get a whole lot. But I would highly recommend that. Highly recommend that. So yeah, appreciate all the love. I do genuinely appreciate it. It's been fun. It's fun having something to check in every week, or have something to kind of like bookmark and just like have a chat every week and just discuss what I think about what's happening. I think it's going to be like an evolving thing. We're going to add new bits and loads of ideas. Like, it's non-stop ideas. I'm just sitting there thinking, oh yeah, I could do something about that. So yeah, watch this space. We're going to get a lot more going on. But yeah, like, subscribe. Have a boy weekend. Tell your friends. Peace.